Let's get this ready here. Got some late stragglers. We're starting early.
Yeah, we're not starting earlier.
Yeah, we like this one.
Yeah.
All right, good. I like it too.
This is a great change. Everybody? Somebody's probably caught up on the bridges.
Do we want to wait?
Expecting you to be 10 minutes late.
Eric, you tell me when we're ready.
We're ready.
All right. Appreciate you guys being here. Before we get started, I thought I'd give you guys a little kind of peek behind the curtain since we last talked in Florida at the owners' meeting since we got back. That Monday, April 7th, was the first day of the offseason program. We could have players back in that phase one. Have had a great turnout thus far. It's good to see the players back in the building, working hard, lifting, running. There's a good energy in the building, having the guys back in. That same Monday, April 7th, I believe it was, we started our draft meeting. So we had all the college scouts back in town. How those draft meetings would go, we'd be up in the draft room. All the college scouts, the analytics department, AG, myself, we'd have the coordinator. We'd bring the position coach up. Let's say it was the running backs that day. We'd start with top running back, go right down the list. Talk about the player. The scouts would talk about the player. Analytics would talk about the player. The coach would talk about the player. We'd watch some film. We'd watch the pro day. We'd have good dialogue. We'd work down the list and take the whole day to really stack the list appropriately. Next day, we'd do a new position. And as we go through all those positions, that's kind of how you build the board, and we'd stack the board. So we feel really good about where the board's at today. After this meeting, I'll go upstairs and get into our final medical meeting. So we'll be in the draft room with all the doctors revisiting a handful of the players' medical to make sure we have the appropriate tags and know their medical situation. Again, maybe tweak, adjust them appropriately. That'll be a few hours. It's a long meeting. After that, we will have our final security meetings. So we'll bring in the security group and talk to some of our folks and scouts about any legal issues that some players might have in the past, pending, address any legal issues. Again, make sure we have those things down, any alerts, tags, and adjust them appropriately. And then after that, we'll have just our final touch points with the coaches. So I'll bring the position coaches up one at a time and kind of have them in the room. And AG and I will say, okay, this player, that player, you're comfortable with these guys. What's the vision like? We bring this player in. How's he fit in the team? What's his role going to be? Some of these coaches have had Zooms or top 30 visits since we last had their position meetings. So we'll follow up. Hey, you talked to the player again. Any concerns? We feel good about them. And again, it's just minor tweaks. But at this point, the board's pretty much set. All you can do now is really overthink it and make some minor tweaks. But we feel really good with where it's at. The process has been awesome. That's a credit to the coaches and the staff. And trying to think if there's anything else these next few days. I'll be making my calls, call 31 teams, talk about potentially moving. Everyone kind of says the same thing, a lot of nothing like you'll hear today. We're open to move up or back. You typically get more, we're willing to move back. But we never really know how it's going to fall until the horn goes off. But looking forward to it. So with that, I'll open it to any questions.
How would you assess just the talent evaluation of this draft as a whole?
I think it's a pretty good draft. There's all this talk like it's a good draft, it's a bad draft. We really won't know, right, until 2 years from now. We can assess the talent and what they've done in the NFL. But I feel like there's some good players throughout the draft in different rounds, but we feel like there's some talented players that can help us.
What's the process been like for you, first time leading this type of charge?
It's been great. And that's a credit to the staff here, really. The scouts, the support staff, the coaches, AG. It's been seamless. And once you get in that room with all the coaches and the scouts and you start doing it again, you're just lost back in the room like it's been the last 13 years. So it's been really good.
When you going into this draft and you look at your roster currently, what do you view as the strengths of this team right now, and what do you want to come out of this draft saying, like, okay, we addressed this specifically?
Yeah, I feel good about where this roster's at right now in April. And I feel good about going into the draft and add some good players that can help us win. And after the draft, it doesn't stop. We'll be scouring the street list for workouts, the alternative leagues, potential trades, and that it just never ends. But feel good about where the team's at now, and feel good about adding players that are going to help us in this draft.
What's your philosophy, need versus best player?
Yeah, that's age-old question, right? Needs versus, but we're always going to go in there and stack these guys at how we view them as players and how they can help us, and kind of let the board fall to us, and just add players that we think can help us win. Good football players.
Darren, your journey to get to the spot here, who are the people that maybe you learned or picked most from as the main decision maker here? What are some of your?
That's a good question. There's so many, to be honest with you, but because I've worked with a lot of great coaches, had a lot of influence from George Payton, Sean Payton, John Elway, and they all went through this process a little differently and led in different ways. One maybe more process driven and kind of stick to it. The other one maybe a little more instinctive. And I think I've taken a blend of all of it, and it's really helped me. And I feel really good about where we are at right now today.
Do you think you'll have a special connection with your first draft pick? I mean, that's kind of the...
Yeah, I hope I have a special connection with all of them. But I understand the question, and I'm excited about it.
Darren, Aaron Rodgers went on Time After last week, and he described the meeting in February. He said he didn't really, there was an ample amount of respect in the meeting, said it lasted 15 minutes. Do you dispute his account of that meeting?
I understand the question, and I addressed that at the Combine. But today I just want to talk about the draft and Jets players.
Do you have any regrets from that meeting?
I understand the question, but I'm just going to talk about the draft and current Jets players.
What's your philosophy with certain draft players sticking to like standardized measurements, whether it's arm length or hands? Are you strict on that? Do you have more wiggle room? Is it case by case basis?
Yeah, we look at all those things, and all of those things are weighted to some degree on where those players end up on the board and how we view them and what the vision might be. But I think it's case by case, position by position, no hard rule, but it definitely has some influence.
Tiebreaker, like you'd use that as a tiebreaker.
There you go, perfect. Sometimes that ends up being a little bit of a tiebreaker.
I think when we were in Florida, Aaron talked about we want to find players that fit our image.
Yeah.
What is that? What is the image that you
I think there's a type of brand, I believe there's a type of brand that we want our players to play with. And it's a physicality, it's a toughness, you're going to feel it, but smart, tough, aggressive, resilient players.
How do you factor in just the character issue of a player compared to just what they do on the field too, if they have particular character issues? Absolutely.
It's a huge piece of the evaluation process, and where they may end up in a board or a stack or a tiebreaker is another piece of it. It's important that we fully exhaust the character and we know what type of person's walking in. And we spend a lot of time in those meetings talking about that. And it's a credit to the scouts and the coaches through the process, getting around these players and getting a good feel to see if they're going to be a fit in our building.
Darren, it's no secret that offensive line is an area you guys would like to upgrade. How do you see this group? It seems like there's some pretty top players that would fit your needs.
Yeah, I feel good about the team and where we're at right now in April going into the draft. And I feel like in the draft we could add some players at multiple positions that are going to help us.
What do you think of the offensive line tackle specifically?
This group in the draft, I think it's good. I think there's some players there that can play. I think it's a good group.
Have you made a decision on the fifth-year options for the 2022 first-round picks?
Yeah, we have time to make that decision, but I do anticipate exercising those fifth-year options on those players. On those players, yeah.
With you said at the owners' meetings, I think extensions would be done.
Mm-hmm.
Probably would be talks about extensions would happen after the draft. Right? Are you open to having extension talks for Garrett and Sauce?
I'm going to get through the draft, but in terms of contracts and extensions on any players, I'll always keep that in house, and we'll keep those dealings and those discussions in house.
When you talked about the players coming in, what have you liked about the players that you've seen here, Justin or some of the guys that have
It's been great. I've seen a lot of the guys. We've got great participation so far. I don't have the exact numbers. I've been so busy upstairs in the cave. But when I break and get out there for a quick bite, it's good to see them. You feel the energy. You talk to the strength staff. they seem to be really excited about it. So I'm excited to get into this draft, getting through phase 2, phase 3, seeing them on the field and being around the players more.
It sounded like when you were breaking down the process that you rely a lot on position coaches during this time of year. Is that accurate? And like, where does that come from? Is that something that you've always done?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always been a part of the process. I think it's a very important part of the process to get the coaches involved and get their opinion and get their vision on the player, and if they think that player is going to fit schematically and personally in the room. So it's an important part of the process, and it's just one piece of it, because we'll have, like I mentioned, the scouts are going to have their takes and opinion. Analytics will have an opinion. The coaches will have an opinion. We're going to have medical that weighs into it. So there's a lot of pieces that come into it. But together, collectively as a group, we will place these guys, and we'll feel really good about the players by the end of the process and kind of know exactly what we're getting.
How do you handle it, Darren, if you and Aaron are on the same page on a player? How do you handle that?
We haven't had too many of those, but when we do, we just sit there and watch more and more and more and have more dialogue. And what about this? What about that? And it's been great. And we've had a few of those. But by the end of it, we're always on the same page with the same vision, and it's pretty clear. You just keep watching, keep talking, keep watching, keep talking.
Aaron, it is early days, obviously, in yours and Aaron's marriage, so to speak, but what are some of the things that you have learned about him in these months that you may not have known about or heard about prior to getting
I don't know if it's anything that I didn't know, but just kind of reinforces his passion. We sit in these meetings, and we will start watching a player, and you can kind of feel AG start to, he likes this player. He hears the reads in the background, and he's passionate about guys. You know it, and you feel it, and that's one of the best qualities, and he's consistent every day. So it's been awesome. The whole process through free agency, the draft, AG, really the coaching staff, all of it has been great.
What went into the decision to name Justin Fields the starting quarterback without an open competition?
Yeah, we feel really good about Justin as our starter. Move forward and believe in Justin, and we can win with Justin. And he was a priority in free agency, and we're glad we got him here.
What about open competition in general?
Yeah, I mean, you always want to have competition on your team at all positions, but we feel really strongly about Justin as our starter.
If we ask this, I don't remember asking this to Combine meetings. Rick Spielman, what went into that decision to bring him on board? Obviously, he was part of the search process that hired you, and what kind of is his role?
Yeah, fortunate to have Rick on staff. I knew I wanted to add some type of senior advisor to the staff when I got here. Had a few different candidates, and when I got here, couldn't get certain ones, but was talking to all of them. Really got to know Rick a little bit through it, but I heard a lot of great things throughout him. I mean, you look around the league, almost all these GMs have a lot of former executives or former GMs on staff, so something I wanted to do. Rick had some other options to join some other teams, and I had to really recruit him, get him to come here, and glad I got him because he's been awesome through so many different steps of the way, and through this draft process he's been involved just like a scout, sitting in the room, hearing it all, bouncing ideas off, so Rick's been great.
How helpful has it been having Robbie Payton in the room too, just as somebody who knows what you're looking for as well as anybody probably, yeah?
Exactly, just another familiar face, a guy that I've worked with, always had a lot of respect for. He knows kind of the processes that I'm familiar with and some of the language that I speak, and kind of help be a translator, and he's been great.
When you look at your roster, do you feel one side of the ball is ahead of the other side with what you've been able to accomplish?
No, I feel good about the roster as a whole, offense, defense, but excited to add some players through this draft that I think are going to help us.
Well, the reason I ask is, last year was built around Aaron, or sometimes when you get a young quarterback, Justin still can, pretty young quarterback, unproven for the most part. Do you believe we need to build around him at this point when you go into the draft?
I think you want to go into the draft just adding good football players that are going to help your team win now and in the future. You can't just have this narrow focus right now. You got to look long term. But I feel good about where we're at.
I'm assuming
in April.
I'm sorry about that. I'm assuming in your role leading into a draft, there are some nerves or whatever, how's this going to go, you know, my responsibilities and stuff. How different will that be in your role now as opposed to your previous roles?
Yeah, I'm sure there will be some nerves, and it's definitely different being one that gives suggestions and then ones that makes decision, right? That's a different feeling. But I feel really good about the work we've put into this point, and we've just been so detailed and worked so hard about building the board, and we'll continue to work through some scenarios and strategy plannings these next few days. But I feel really confident about where we'll be at, the support group around me to make those decisions, and feel really comfortable today about the draft in 4 days. Or
Let me just ask a follow-up in terms of with AG. Both of you guys are in first-time roles in these roles, so to speak. Is that can that potentially be something worrisome or a detriment at all, or have you guys leaned on proper people to?
I'm not worried at all that it's both of our first roles. We're both experienced in the league. We've had a lot of experience, both. I think, and AG has experience as a scout as well, and we have good people around us. So no, I'm not too concerned about it being the first time.
You largely inherited the scouting staff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know Robbie you brought in, but what's that process been like? Sort of getting to know those guys, and also getting them to share your vision of players, and Aaron's vision of players, and what's been your impression of the scouts?
It's been really good. I've been really impressed with the whole group. They've been awesome. They've given me all the information I need and more. They've adapted to my little tweaks of this or that without question, and they've been very supportive through the whole thing. And I think the group as a whole has been fantastic, and I'm excited about the support they've given me.
Thanks, Aaron. We'll see you on Thursday night.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Alrighty.